Hello and welcome. Carsten Spencer here, and I am really excited to be here in my Flash studio. And it's just me in the studio today, but we have a really wonderful friend and mentor uh, with us via the amazing technology that we have. And so the challenge is the technology is wonderful. However, my interface with the technology, I'm still in my learning curve. So bear with us if anything comes up. But I'm going to right now try to introduce. Well, I am going to introduce, not try. I will do it, and you will see. You will be there with us. My good friend and mentor, Sue Fredericks, and that means I've got to be able to click her, find her right here, which is, let me see, here we go. Oh, I just have to find her screen on the computer here. So if we move this down, oh, I know, I remember what I saw Phil do. Phil was in here helping us, but he had other things to do. Here we go, I push Skype. Oh my goodness. Sue is here, and so I'm going to welcome Sue Fredericks, my good friend, live with us from Colorado. You're in Boulder, right?
That's right. That's right.
Well, welcome.
Such a pleasure to be with you, Carsten.
Really a pleasure to have you. I'm really excited to have you here and have you be one of the first people who is helping me experiment with this amazing Flash studio. And what's exciting is I've got you here, and I can actually.
What's exciting is that I made it as well through
Right.
Skype.
And what I'm going to do is figure out how we can also get. There we no, that's not it. I'm just playing with these cameras a little bit. Sue, as I play with the cameras and we've got uh, you on full screen, just share with me and our viewers a little bit what's been going on with you this week, because I know I've seen your Facebook stuff. I know you had a really wonderful some live sessions this week. So just share some of the most exciting things that have happened for you this week.
Well, the most exciting thing for me was that Saturday I got to teach my grief intuitive healing workshop in Boulder at Naropa University. And I got to bring my dear friend Greg Wilkins, who is a sound healer and a musician, has these amazing gongs that he's brought back from Nepal and Tibet. And together we led the group through an amazing day-long grief healing workshop that was so profound, because I would lead the group through a process and a meditation, and then he would play the gongs and lead them through that kind of silent meditation with sound healing. And these participants said it was amazing.
So, Sue, is this the first time that you have actually worked with the sound healer with this grief work?
I've been personally doing it on my own. In fact, Greg is a friend of mine from about 30 years ago, and he comes over and does sound healing sessions for me and the family. And I've been wanting to find a way to incorporate that into my workshops. And it just so turned out that he could do that on Saturday. And I knew that it would be so powerful with grief healing to add in the sound piece. And some of these participants had lost, a 6-year old grandson, just a lot of pain, a lot of loss. And the sound, really, the sound meditations plus the work that you're very familiar with my grief work because you've studied my grief intuitive coach work. So I would take the participants through that process. I'd have them connecting to their departed. We would speak to their departed and they would have these amazing visions. And then I would sit down into meditation and Greg would do a huge 30-minute gong soundscape meditation. And at the end, people were just crying and they had felt the presence of their departed and they had gotten amazing messages and it was just amazing.
Yes, it sounds absolutely amazing. And what I want to, I guess, really share with you and my viewers is how powerful this grief work is that you do, and that you so brilliantly are able to teach and share it with people. I know when I took the your workshop, it was on the phone, so it wasn't live, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and I was a little bit nervous. Am I going to be able to do this? Especially when I kind of read through some of the material. It's like, oh my God! Immediately we just jump into and start doing
Right.
sessions with each other, And what was so surprising and continues to be surprising for me is how thin that veil between the worlds is.
Absolutely.
And I had a session last week, actually just a couple of days ago, and I hadn't done a session in a while because I've been involved with some other things. I've been working on this presence process, which I want to share with you later.
Hmm.
Um, but wow, it was just so something takes over. You open up to. I follow your templates, which is I've done a lot of other career training and coaching training, and very often it's either too much material that you can't really process, or else it's just not laid out clear enough to be able to feel like you're getting something out of it.
Right.
But your work was so clear, so powerful, and the tools that you give us just make it so I really after not even doing this for a while, I just went to my computer, pulled up my sample sheet, did my
Hmm.
meditation to prepare. And the amazing thing is, number one, you get such beautiful immediate feedback from the client, because even though sometimes the intuition I get, I think, oh, that doesn't really make sense, but then you share it with the client, and that's the missing piece.
Exactly. It's so powerful, Carsten, when we own our intuition, tap into our connection to the divine, because, like you say, it's completely accessible to us. And we all day long sort of dismiss it and talk ourselves out of believing it. But the veil is so thin. And the minute we try to look through this world into the other, it's right there for us. And I love, I'm a Virgo, so I love making that process into a simple system that anyone can learn, because that's how Virgos think. So I figured out a way, like you just said, to teach people how to go through a process that just connects them to it. And all of us can do that. That's the great news.
Yes, and what's so rewarding for me doing the work is you just feel the joy that the client feels when they connect, and even more exciting is you feel the joy of those past relatives
Yes.
and loved ones to be able to connect, because that's one of the things that I really recognize through your work is they're not only there to help us, they want and need to connect with us as well. That
Right.
connection feeds both of us. It's like this
Right.
nourishing connection.
Because we're still in their soul posse. We have loved them and let them go to the other realms, but they still have a connection to us. We're part of their soul posse. So, for example, in the workshop on Saturday, these grandparents were grieving the loss of their 6-year-old grandson. He had just died recently, a month ago. And as they told their story, the whole room was just crying about it. And during the workshop, so many people, not just me, not just the grandparents, so many people reported feeling this playful little boy coming and sort of dancing around them. Greg, who was doing the gongs, said that the little boy wanted to play the gongs, and they felt his playful, light energy. And so the grandparents experienced this as well, and it was such a comfort to them. They aren't suffering on the other side. We're suffering here. This is the hard part, being here.
Yeah, I think that that's true, and a lot of the hard part and the suffering as I tune into the other side, just doing my meditation, which is part of the way I really have connected with the other side, but to make it personal with
Mm-hmm.
your own loved ones, and as I work with clients with their loved ones, the thing that I love is each time I do a session, I
Mm-hmm.
feel the clients departed with me for the next couple of days. I
Oh, that's
feel
great.
their energy, and always I feel their sense of humor. It's so amazing that you can, close your eyes, and all I have when I start working with the client is
Mm-hmm.
the name of the departed and perhaps their birth date, and maybe if there's a little bit of information, but mostly it's just the name
Right.
and the birth date. And then I go into meditation, and it's always, for me, it's just a feeling sense. I get kind of a giggle or a tickle inside because I feel their energy and their personality. And it always comes from that place of kind of humorous,
Yes.
lighthearted joy, which I
Yeah.
assume is what it's like on the other side when we let
Right.
go of this ego veil. And what they're trying to tell us, which just is really resonating with me right now, I'm kind of getting goosebumps, is that all the struggle and strife that we cause ourselves on this plane that it really is a choice.
Right.
We don't.
They're always saying lighten up,
Yeah.
whenever I'm connecting with somebody to help a client, I'm connecting to their departed loved one. I mean, they always crack me up, these spirits. They're always saying, tell her to get over it, and they're laughing and stuff. And on this side, that seems, so like we're minimizing the person's grief when we say, I'm sorry to tell you this, but your husband said to lighten up. But because here on the earthly realm, the energy is so dense and so heavy that we let it sort of pull us down, into what I call our pitiful self, that heavy part of us. But we don't have to, and especially when we're grieving, if we are feeling that negative energy, that sadness, we're actually blocking the ability of our departed to communicate with us because they can't get through that gray cloud of sadness and pain.
So, Sue, let me ask you a question around this because this connects with my presence process, which I'm in. It's a book by Michael Brown, and I don't want to spend too much of Sue's time uh, talking about Michael Brown, but I do want to talk about the process and the idea. And I'm sure you've got a lot of probably stuff to share with us about this, some of your own life experience. But Michael Brown and the presence process is really about going into those emotional places that we've avoided all of our life. And so I guess the question is the difference between feeling your emotions and being honest and integral with that emotional center, what's really going on emotionally, and wallowing in it. And
Right.
so,
Right.
where do you draw the line there?
That's exactly what I teach my students and my clients is I say, yes, we're here to feel those emotions. I mean, we come into this dense realm, this earthly realm, to feel all of that, to have those emotions. But we aren't here to get stuck in the pain. We're here to experience it, learn from it, move forward. It becomes our fuel for then helping others and having our meaningful career. That's why I started my work helping people find their career using their pain as fuel. But that pain, we've got to feel it, yes. And at once we feel it, then we have to sort of say, okay, now I'm going to choose to raise my energy by focusing on the fact that I'm a soul who came here on purpose. I have a soul mission. If I'm still here taking my breath, it's for a reason. And I'm going to get out of my own way and I'm going to get it done, accomplish my soul mission, help others, and move forward. That's the place we all have to come to from our pain.
Yeah, I think, and what you're talking about for me, it has to do with the chakras, because what we're still discovering, and I think we've really taken baby steps, and I think of what it means to actually be alive and present in this body. And one of my favorite quotes is Joseph Campbell, who says, "I don't," and I'm paraphrasing his quote, but he says, "I don't believe that most people are looking for the meaning of life. I believe that most people are looking for an experience of being alive."
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're here to experience on this
Right.
earth plane. And I realize I feel that when I tune in to, uh, to do this grief work with clients, that partly those entities on the other side are tuning into our energy basically through the solar plexus, through
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
emotional center. But if we get stuck in one emotion, which to me usually I call them demotions, it's this place where we're just depressed and it's heavy and it's really an unwilling willingness to feel the feelings and let it go. That's why I think your break your heart wide open meditation is so powerful, and I love being able to share it not just with my grief clients, but with
Right.
many of my clients when they're in that space to be able to go in and connect into the heart and allow that solar plexus energy not to trigger an old mental story that keeps you stuck, but to
Right.
open up into the heart.
Well, that break your heart wide open meditation that I describe in my books has saved my life more than once, many times in this lifetime. And I figured it out of pure survival, after Paul died and Chrissy died and I was 30 or 31 and my pain burden weighing me down was so intense and I was 31. I needed to live. I needed to find a new boyfriend. I needed to get a career going. I had to get back going. I knew Paul didn't want me wasting my life with that pain. And So I really learned I had to start the day by feeling it, even crying if I needed to, quieting my mind through mantra, feeling that pain, and then moving it out using my hand even, and showing, I think you can see that,
Yes,
and
we can see it.
offering it up to the divine beings to transform into love. And if I could start my day that way, the burden of that heavy energy was lifted and I could begin to move forward. But then, of course, it will come back. So you feel it again, you cry, you release it, you offer it to the divine beings, and you keep going. Because if we let it overwhelm us, not only does it not serve us and the reason that we're here to experience our life fully, but it also really upsets our departed. I mean, you know this, Carsten, from working with the people on the other side.
Hmm.
They see us grieving like that, and that's not what they want to see us doing. They say, you know, get going, do it, do what you're there to do, enjoy it, be it. You know, your sadness is not what I want to see from the other side. That's the message I hear over and over.
Yes, yes, and what I feel from the presence process as I move through it, because it's so all this work, and this is what amazes me about what's happening on the planet today. So many people and so much information, from channeled information from those on the other side, from just people who have been doing this spiritual work. Uh, it's all saying the same thing, and there's so many wonderful now practical tools that help you basically move into the here and now, move into the present, get out of this story in our head of what we
Yes.
have decided life was about, which is basically based on the past, which is done. It's
Right.
over, it's finished,
Right.
and moving us into the here and now moment. So the break your heart wide open is one way to do that. To and what's interesting is we think, oh my God, someone's died. They're living in the past. And what your work shows us, this grief intuitive work, is no, they're totally present here and now, even more so because you don't have to be physically in their presence. Their energy, you just simply have to call it in and open your heart.
Yep.
And
Yep.
the idea of, and I'm going to be sharing about chakras in a later program that I'm going to be doing in a couple of weeks. But these chakras are inner senses, and the break your heart open meditation is really about honoring this central chakra, which is where we live from in this physical plane, and its intimate connection with the solar plexus
Yep.
and
Yep.
that emotional center and our communication center, the throat. And that's why that sound healing that you did, I was
Right.
so fascinated with it, is because
Yeah.
sound, the vibration of sound, harmonizes whatever it comes in
That's
contact with.
right. That's right.
And I know when I was in Mount Shasta over the solstice, I went up for a sound healing, and it was so powerful because as that vibration moves through, we did a lot of
Yes.
chanting and a lot of crystal bowls and gongs and
Right.
everything, and I can see how it's so. And this is the other thing when I do my heart opening or break your
Mm-hmm.
heart wide open meditation, which is so similar to the Michael Brown work. I find when the emotion is coming up, it's so helpful to make the sound. I was in the
Yes.
post office yesterday, and there was this mom with a little maybe 2 year old girl, and she was, it was her nap time, and she wasn't home yet because of this long line, and just the sound she was making,
Right.
and everyone in the post office was like, oh, that sound. And it's because all of us have this blocked emotion.
Right.
And I said to the mother, she said, oh, I'm so sorry. I said, oh, that's okay. Sometimes I feel like I just want to cry like that. And every
She
one of
was
them.
crying for everybody there.
Exactly, exactly, and that's what these children do. So, Sue, what I want to do, we've got about 10 minutes left, a little bit less, and I want to number one ask you if you would be willing to come back for another show because there's so much
Of
to talk about.
course.
I would love to do it.
Of
Wonderful,
course. I
but
love you, Karsten.
thank
Anytime.
you. Good. And but what I also you alluded a little bit to, your story and your past and how you got into this work, and I know you've told this story a number of times. Uh, but I don't know that my viewers have really heard it, so I'd love if you could share a little bit about your story with us.
Well, quickly summarize, I grew up in the 50s when being normal and being like Marilyn Monroe was the accepted thing, and I was nothing like either of those things. I was a weird little intuitive kid who had dreams that came true, and I was skinny as a rail, and I did not fit into the world in any way. My right brain was always more powerful than my left brain logic mind, which made growing up and going to school very interesting. And by the time I left home to go off to college, I had taken the alternative path. Thank goodness it was 1969, 1970, and I studied alternative spirituality. I carried packs for teaching Colorado Outward Bound in the mountains. And then I met my soulmate, Paul Frederick, and we taught mountaineering together. We felt invincible. And he was diagnosed with cancer and given 2 weeks to live. And he died a year later, and that journey of accepting his death, going through his suffering, was my spiritual awakening. And I fought it tooth and nail. I wanted him to live, he wanted to live. And the last moment as he died in my arms, this beautiful conscious death, his spirit so clearly leaving his body to show me, in so many ways, he showed me that the physical world is our illusion and the divine realms is what's real and it's our home and it's where we're from. That launched my life in the direction that got me here.
Wow, that's I've heard this story before, but each time I hear it, it's so moving. And I know that part of his journey, as he was, moving out of the physical, it included working with didn't you somehow get connected with a
Right.
Native American shaman or medicine man?
Yes. We went to see, at that time, a very famous Sioux medicine man named Chief Fool's Crow. And you had to really work hard to get an appointment. We had to make 50 bags of little tobacco, all kinds of rituals in order to get accepted. And then we drove up there to where he lived, and he did a ceremony with Paul and with a group of his Native American partners as well. And then he took me for a walk and said, you must know that this is your time to let Paul go, that he's already chosen on a soul level to leave the lifetime. He chose you to help him do it because of your strength and your courage. But this lesson is for both of you, and it's the lesson of surrender. And I got sick instantly. I look back on it now and I know that he made me sick so I wouldn't be able to talk to Paul, because Paul came back out of the healing ceremony going, I've been healed. And he was on top of the world feeling so good. And as the next days unfolded after we went home, Paul started speaking Lakota, which he had never learned or studied before. I recognized it because I had studied Lakota at University of Missouri in a Native American class that I was studying. He sang Lakota songs. He was being guided by Chief Fool's Crow on the other side, and he would wake up and say, Chief Fool's Crow came and taught me 2 songs, one to help me die and one to help me deal with the pain. And the whole last few weeks were amazing to watch as literally the guides helped him move through his death process. And until at the final event was after I took him to the hospital, he had an emergency and he wanted to die at home, but I ended up having to take him to the hospital. And after I came back to my apartment and Paul had died, first phone call I had, this was 1980, before cell phones or internet, was Chief Fool's Crow had hiked out from his home in South Dakota to a payphone, and called me and said, Paul has crossed over, I'm guiding him, don't hold on to him right now, he needs to move beyond to the higher realms. And there was literally no way he could have known that unless he was traveling in the other realms with Paul. And I got that phone call as I walked in the house, and it was like God saying, all is in divine order, surrender.
Wow, that's such a powerful story. And when what's interesting when you said, he came out of that first, that experience saying, "Oh my God, I'm healed," and but then Chief Crow had told you that no, he's healing out of the body.
Right.
That's when I early on, it's interesting how we're just led in life. Early on, I began teaching yoga, and I had no intention of doing more than just, I got a free membership to the gym when I started teaching, and I was, able to, just do my own yoga and share it with people and get paid for it. It was wonderful. Very quickly, I began having people come to me. I have a friend, she wants to do some private yoga, she's just out of surgery. People came to me with these really terminal illnesses, and I began doing what I would call, grief work, and really helping people either heal back into the body, because a number of people I work with had kind of miraculous, cures or healings, But I also realized that the people who chose to let go and move to the other side, it was also a healing, and it
Right.
really reorganized my understanding about death. So when someone tells me they have a terminal illness, I don't go to that oh place.
Right. Me
And
too.
yeah, and I realized that partly when someone has, is diagnosed with cancer or something that is life threatening, and the doctors, have decided, because we don't know what's terminal.
Right.
Only spirit knows, and we leave the
Yes.
body when it's time and when the soul
Yes.
has chosen. But a lot of the feedback I've gotten from people who have been diagnosed with these serious medical things is they feel like they have to take care of everyone around them because it brings up all this grief, all this unresolved emotion, all this fear. And, what I want to say is, hey, it's not so tragic. Their soul
Right.
is giving them exactly what they need to, and they will learn through this process. I mean, having lived through the AIDS crisis in New York
Right.
City, when we lost so many people, you have to come to a different understanding of it.
Yep.
Otherwise, it's just too much for you. And I saw each person
Yep.
as they went through their own journey, they were getting exactly what they needed as they
And
moved
Chief
through it.
Foolscrow was the person who came to me at that moment when all the rest of the world was saying, "Boy, what a tragedy that you're 29 and your husband's 34. What a tragedy." Chief Foolscrow said, "No, this is how it's supposed to be, and I'm helping him, and I'm going to help you." He made me lose my voice, literally. I couldn't speak for about 2 weeks after the healing. And I knew it was because I had to stop telling Paul that I needed him to live. I had to surrender him. And that's what happened. And Chief Fool's Crow facilitated the whole thing on a spirit level.
Beautiful, beautiful. And Sue, now I want to thank you so much. It has been such a blessing to, and that's why I thank technology. It's like I've had Sue right here with me, which is
I
great.
know, and we have so many other things to talk about.
Well,
We've never had time with you.
we'll do another show, but as I'm talking us out, what I want you to do is share what your next upcoming thing is, so people can know. And as you do that, I'm going to be playing with a little bit of this technology, so you won't be seeing Sue anymore. I'm going to try to show some of the stuff I have with showing her books and things. But you share with us, keep talking, and share as I roll this out and show these pictures.
All right, so my name, as you know, is Sue Frederick, and my website, if you want to visit my website, is www.suefrederick.com, and that will show you all of my upcoming events and workshops and webinars. And you can also sign up for my training webinars like the one Carsten did, where I teach people to work with grieving people and use their intuition. I'm also a soulmate intuitive, and I teach people to be soulmate intuitive coaches and a career intuitive, and I teach that as well. All of that is on my website, suefrederick.com. And my books are I See Your Dream Job, I See Your Soulmate, and my new book that's coming out in September is Bridges to Heaven, True Stories of Loved Ones on the Other Side.
Beautiful. Thank you, Sue. And you're still there and very bright and shiny, because I can't figure out how to get the other stuff to roll. So I'm going to thank everybody for watching, and look for Sue coming up soon. If I'm going to try to talk her into after we turn off the cameras, to see if I can get her to do another show right now, since we've already got everything hooked up. So thank you all for watching, and we will talk to you soon. Okay, recording has ended.
All
Good for
right.
you. Are you up for doing another show?
Yeah, that was
Okay.
fun. It was just like talking to you, hanging out.
Yes,
And it's
wonderful.
better to do it now than for us to have to figure out the whole Skype thing
Exactly, I
again.
feel the same way. Same way. So if you want to go ahead and I think let's leave the connection open so we have it. If you want to change your outfit or something, I'm going to run to the men's room and see if I can get Phil in here and figure out how to do the roll in and the roll out. So let's
All right.
take like a 10-15 minute break. Does that sound good?
That sounds good.
Wonderful. All right. Love you, Sue.
Love you too.
Okay.